Hey everyone, it's Llama Bill here again with another short iRacing video for you. Week 6 was a fairly middling week. Not the best, not the worst. Street stocks have started to feel a bit like a chore. I've just been racing enough to get a decent result and then stopping for the week. I think it's because they only run at 2 circuits, so there's not a lot of variety. Legends is definitely my main series at the moment. It took me a while this week to get a good result. My pace wasn't great. It wasn't too bad either, but I had a lot of bad luck in my races. In the first one, somebody decided to run me over. I don't think it was my fault. I was hard on the throttle when this happened. I think the car behind just went in too low, with too straight a line, and slightly too fast. And of course the crash really lost me a lot of time, put me out of contention. I had another race where my force feedback decided to stop working. I didn't think it would be too big a problem, but it turns out no, it is a big problem when your force feedback stops working. It's really hard to drive the car without it. It took to my third race until I got the result I was happy with. It wasn't a brilliant result, but I think it was the best I was going to do that week. I'm halfway through the season now, and the level of commitment required to play iRacing is starting to take its toll a little bit. I'm not the sort of person who can easily put obligations out of their mind, and iRacing being a subscription service and being a competitive game really makes it an obligation that weighs quite heavily on me, especially at this early stage when I'm trying to sample as much of the game as possible. I think in future, if I came back to it, I'd only run one series per season, maybe with the odd casual race elsewhere, but mostly just stick to one thing. The real meat of this video is the unofficial races. Dallara Dash was at Laguna Seca this week. I'd expected an all-out demolition derby, but that didn't happen. I don't know if it was the track, maybe people weren't comfortable entering a race on a road circuit, or maybe it was just the time of day I was playing, but the grid was really only half full, so I don't actually have anything good to show you. I was mostly driving on my own in the midfield. As I said before, I'm a very slow driver, so I was nowhere near the handful of people at the front who were good at what they did, but I'm safe enough to avoid all the people stuck in the gravel at the back. It was mostly an extended time trial for me. So because Dallara Dash wasn't quite what I hoped for, I decided to try the Pickup Cup. This uses a Chevrolet Silverado pickup, the sort you'd see in the Camping World Truck Series. That's NASCAR's third tier series below the Xfinity and the Sprint Cup. The race was at Phoenix. This was a track I raced in the Dallara Dash the other week, but it's a very different experience in the truck. If I'm honest, I don't really have much of an idea how to drive this thing. It's got an awful lot of power, and although it doesn't go around corners particularly well, it's very easy to get it sideways if you are too hard on the throttle. It's quite a handful to drive, and it will punish you for driving it wrong. I had a good race though. It was a big field and it was quite close racing throughout. My lines weren't very good, but I think I did okay. I was racing for position for most of the 25 laps, and I managed to make up a few positions along the way as well. I started off in 10th and finished in 6th, so I was quite pleased with that. And there were of course some crashes along the way, but I managed to stay safe. Although I've said in the past that I'm more interested in the modifieds and the sprint cars, this race has given me more of an appreciation of why people want to race in the Cup Series cars. They're very powerful, and they do take quite a lot of skill and effort to be able to drive on the limit. They're not very complicated cars, they're very simple and direct, but they will let you know when you're driving them wrong, mostly by sending you into the wall. The perception of NASCAR and oval racing in general is that it's very easy, because after all, you're just turning left. And I suppose on a basic level, it is much easier to drive around an oval than it is around a road course. You only need to learn 4 corners on an oval. But of course that doesn't really apply to racing. To race on an oval requires most of the same skills and principles of racecraft that apply on the road. You've got to be able to run on the limit or as close to it as you dare for the entire time, and making a mistake can be very costly. On the road, if you overrun on a corner, you've usually got some grass or a gravel trap. If you overrun a corner on an oval, you've got a wall. And of course, all the while, you're racing in traffic as well. So it's a very intense and very mentally demanding form of racing, even if it doesn't require the same kind of cornering ability that you need on the road. The point is, I suppose, that road and oval are equally valid forms of racing, and it's okay to like both of them, or one of them, or in fact none. There's far too much snobbery, I think, among internet motorsport fans, and it shouldn't really matter what kind of racing other people like. If you want to read about oval racing from somebody who really knows what they're talking about, I put a link in the description from Motorsport magazine with an excerpt from Emerson Fittipaldi's book. That gives you his take on the particular skills needed to drive on the oval and how it differs from the road. Anyway, the end of this race was fun. I was closing in on somebody, but I couldn't quite catch up to them. My rather ham-fisted driving had worn my tyres out pretty badly, so my already questionable driving line certainly wasn't getting any better. But I finished quite well. 6th place was a decent finish. It was a very big field, and I think it was fun enough that I'll probably try it again some other time. That's all I've got for this week. Both the Legends and the Street Stocks are at Charlotte next time, so that should be quite fun. And the Pickup Cup is at Daytona, so I'll definitely be having a go at that. But that's all I've got for you this time. I shall see you next week.